resume. Okay, cool. Hopefully that's doing it. I don't know.
Okay, so this is the Eclipse, right? We talked about this. What the code is. This is how you spread it out. So if you come to this, you would find out that the first two projects there, the AlgoTrader Conf,
Yep.
and the AlgoTrader Launch.
Yep.
Those are more configuration stuff, right? So two things. The configurations are such that as you get bigger, it may make sense for you to say, remember the MySQL database we were talking about yesterday?
Yep.
It may make sense for you to actually host it on a different server. So let's say in theory you had so many of these systems running. You may actually hire a DBA, a database administrator, who would then host the MySQL on one central place with all the other stuff.
Cool.
So the reason why that's important is in the configurations, you can point which database you are going to use.
Okay.
To save that information. Okay. And all that is, so what you do is there's source main resources.
Yeah.
Expand that one.
Right.
Yes. All the adapters we have, IB is conf-ib.properties. So all the configurations that we use for IB are there. So you really don't want to touch anything here.
Yeah.
But out of curiosity, this is what it is. Some of the. So if for some reason you want to turn certain things on or off, you can basically, we've set most of them to false, but you can set them to true if you truly need them.
Okay.
Bloomberg, if you're interested in using Bloomberg, we have the adapter already there. That's a conf-bb. This is for cryptos. So if you're doing Bitfinex, BitMEX, Binance, Bitstamp.
Yeah.
So if you ever get into cryptos, yes. If you're going to use Fix at some point with any provider, we have the following already inbuilt already to IB, to Realtek, Trading Technology. All these guys are there already.
Yep.
Then the one about SQL, MySQL is actually in conf-core.properties. The conf-core properties, yeah. So under data source properties, the one that says data source URL, yeah. So it says JDBC, MySQL, blah, blah. So 127 is the local host. So right now it's installed on your server on the server you're running on. Okay, but if you were to install it on a different server, all you need is the IP address. So I can see you at some point get into a case where you actually have to have the MySQL on a separate server by itself, so that there's.
So you just point it to that IP.
Yeah, just change that there. It's a bunch of other configurations. We try to make it very open in that sense. You can configure as many things as you want. Again, you may not really have to ever really touch and play with these things.
Right.
But John sounds like a technical guy for you, right? So he may actually find this very useful for that purpose. All right. Okay, so that's I'll say let's leave that for AlgoTrader Conf. That's good. You can collapse the AlgoTrader Conf the very top. Then the launch is basically a list of default configurations that you can run. So what do I mean by that? If we want to go to IB and get historical data, or Bloomberg, or wherever it is, we've already defined some of these configurations for you so that you can clone them, right, and use. So if, we build this with the mindset of, developers are going to use this, so they just don't have to worry about how do I put this, blah, 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 right? They just pick one of these things, clone them, and they can use. So that's what the launches are. So it's more of a sort of a Java concept. All right, so you can close that, minimize that. collapse that. Yeah. The embedded POC is basically what we're working on. The framework for this trading strategy that will be built in long term. The other stuff at the bottom, before we get to bots, breakout, EMA, IPO, pairs, random, these are all sample trading strategies that at your own time, if you want to learn or see how a box trading strategy works, or a breakout works, or EMA, or IPO, or pairs trading, or random, we've put a bunch of code there so that you can use them as template if you are so inclined, right? Now, let's focus on Bedley POC. So Bedley POC, the project is divided into sort of the real source code written in Java of the strategy. That one you find it under source main Java, right? And then, so if you span that out in the source main Java, you're going to see also subgrouping, because we do we group similar things together. So utilities are sort of CH or AlgoTrader strategy or utilities, right? So over time, any utility function we want to use. So something like the geometric mean, right? This is sort of the utility function that we put together for it, and we'll be using. The aggregation package, you can expand the aggregation package. CH.AlgoTrader strategy.aggregation. Yeah, that one there. So because of how you want us to compute these bars, we've created it's not necessarily standard, right? So IB doesn't give you 195-minute bars. So what we've done is we've created what we call like a wrapper around it, where we're using the data from IB, but then based on the conversation we had in the specification, we've created something that allows us to take this live bars or historical bars and format them to the 195 minutes that you want, referencing GMT zeros from.
So is this where I'd be able to enter a different bar and then use that for trading?
No, not here at all. This one you don't even ever have to touch. This is the code behind it, but it's configurable. So if you ever have to select a different bar, there's a different place. You just specify it there, and the code will read that and use it. All right. So
this is like the code behind the variable?
Say again?
Is this the code behind the variable?
Yes, this is the code behind the variable. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So then there's a bar wrapper. So these are all Java classes that we have. Okay.
What's a wrapper?
So, from a trading, from a coding perspective, you use wrappers when you have, say, something that already exists, but it doesn't do what you want.
Right. So
you create something around it so that it can do what you want.
Okay.
So like the bars already exist, but we don't have 195-minute bars.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me do this.
Fixed offset aggregator. Wow. A lot of stuff there.
Well, you want a lot of stuff, right? So, we thought through what you wanted, and we decided to create something generic enough that would, in theory, allow you to kind of create any bars relative to any time zone you want.
Okay.
If you were ever to change, to look at it differently, it's not like we have to start all over. So that's what we put it that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there is all right.
Okay.
And there is bar wrapper.
Right.
So the bar wrapper is what we talked about. This is a wrapper around the bar. just does the job.
Yeah, we talked about these, right?
Yeah, fixed offsets. Aggregator, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And let's do. What's the next one here?
Now what?
Look at the time util. Well, you know what? Let's go to the strategy. Go to the strategy itself, the top one. AlgoTrader strategy.
This one?
No, this is the utilities. That's what the first. If you scroll two up. Yeah, so that one there. So this is one where most of the logic, so the actual trading, will happen. So we have the notion of a CSV settings reader writer. So yes, you remember, I think I'll show you that we have an Excel file. It's a CSV file, right? Comma separated file that you can put the settings in, right? So if you wanted to put the different periods or duration or bar size.
Yeah.
This is the helper class that allows us to read it and parse it correctly and then use it within the program.
Okay.
So then there's the notion of the indicator class. For you, I think this is actually one of the most important classes that we've created as a framework going forward, which is this. All the indicators that you possibly think of, we're going to consolidate them into one location.
Okay.
Right. So what that means is that if you're inclined to, say, for example, use any other indicators in the future, we just have to add it to this class. So right now we have EMA,
right?
That is used for the MACD,
rate of change.
ROC. I actually put parabolic SAR there as well. I don't think you need it. I've just put most of the libraries that most people use, but
okay.
If there are other things that you may need, we can certainly add them here. But the idea of it is to centralize all of them, and then as the data comes in, for each bar, it updates all of them, and then it becomes available for the algo to use or query.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And there is the notion of so you can go through it. We use
where's the underlying code to be able to actually compile these indicators?
Okay, so all the indicators we use you see org.ta4j.core. It's a community that we're actually a part of.
Okay.
We use it's technical analysis for Java. So we use really like sort of advanced math formulas to create these functions. So something like Bollinger Bands, typically instead of looping through the data, there is an advanced mathematical formula you can use and get it to you without looping, right? So it's very efficient, so that it takes literally microseconds to compute that.
So it's not actually in here then. It sends it out to another, like through the internet to somewhere.
Oh no! It's there. Everything is on your server. It's a package that's already compiled. That is part of it.
Okay, so, but it's on the server, but it's not part of this. It's like a different service, right? So you're saying
yes. In fact, that's actually the very important architectural choice of AlgoTrader is we make it such that if you have like an existing library that does something, you can just use it. You don't have to rewrite the code. So that's actually why it's the way it is. So we have a library for Bollinger Bands. All right, why don't you make it easy for somebody to use Bollinger Bands?
Okay, so these are the indicators.
All right. Next is what should we do next? Just give me 1 second. I'm getting paid. Some water. So, all right, now let's look at the macd config.java.
Uh-huh.
Now, remember, the project is given a name macd, but, we have other things for it, right? But it's sort of, initially when we started talking, we just had macd, so it's called macd. Let's see. So this is a bit long, but if you haven't opened it yet, macd config, can you double click the Java file, macd? Yeah. So this is actually all the settings that you are likely going to use. You can define them here. So this is a lot of standard variables we use for most strategies. There's typically a settings file name your strategy is going to reference.
Yep.
And then, there's a feed type. In this case, is IB. So it's neither here nor there. It's just IB. And then there is account ID, which is the adapter type that we talked about. In this case, you're using IB, so it's just whatever. We just put it here as a reference more than anything else, right? So, and then you have, let's call this one, these are self-explanatory, right? There's market open. So let's say, for example, you wanted to define.
I guess what's not is actually, so this is a code that these are, the variables, but where are these actually pulling from?
All right. So yes, this is the framework to pull them in. If you go to, we'll go into that's on the source main resources. So I was telling you that there's the code part, and then there's the resources or the configuration values to use. We separate the two, right? So that the code itself doesn't have a lot of hard coding or values, right? Let's open up. Yeah, so this is clear. We may come back to it, but it's not, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Yeah. So now let's go to, scroll maybe 6 down, 1, 2, 6. Yeah, now source main resources. You're looking to expand source main resources.
Okay, so it's still in the same main one. All right, yeah.
All right. So, and the source main resources, these are where the settings files are. Yesterday, I was showing you the settings files and stuff like that, right? So, all the things that affect the operation of the program in terms of parameters and variables are typically kept here.
Right.
All right. What else? Oh yeah, we never got the whole Excel thing.
Oh. I don't know. I'm gonna have to buy something else apparently.
No, it takes about 10 minutes. Yesterday I got one for somebody. There's a link on our website as to how to get a free one from them, but okay. It's an evaluation copy for 60 days. But in my mind, it's just you're better off just getting the right one and just avoid the headache. If you want to open it, just drag it to the right of the screen. Just drag it to the right.
What?
Drag it.
Oh, okay.
And then it will open up. Yeah. It doesn't open up sort of the nice way.
It does it opens up an additional one up here. Okay.
Well, I think I created multiple. So there's the live version that in theory we'll be using for live, and then there's paper version. And then there's a template, sort of the base template that we're using. So If you were so inclined to, change one of these, you can basically change the setting here. So remember yesterday we
So you'd have to get it from here, go in here, open it up like this, and then modify it, and then save it, or what? How would it actually get updated?
basically you just
Here.
type a value and it will just get updated.
Well, so if I did from 104 to 105 now, and I would update it, I don't have to save it or anything. I just close it afterwards. Oh, yeah.
Well, you have to save it, and then the system would. I don't think I've finished that part of the code yet, but I've made it that the system, once you make the change,
Uh-huh.
as soon as you save the file, within a second, it will detect that the file.
Where do you have to save it? Is there a specific?
Oh, it's okay. So it's saved. Right now, the files are here, right? There's a folder. All these files are in a folder.
Right.
If you want to access them from like Windows Explorer, instead of using Eclipse, the way you do that is go to C, AlgoTrader, Eclipse Workspace. The Eclipse Workspace. It's a little confusing. There's actually a folder called Eclipse, and there's one that's called Eclipse-Workspace. Sorry, so I mean the Eclipse-Workspace. Yeah, Bentley. Yeah, that's you right there. You'll see now source, main, resources. All right. So if you click on the resources, just click on the resources.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just these files that are here, and you can basically edit them from here. So really, from an operational standpoint, once everything is up and fully running, all you do is, if you want to make changes, you just open this file, you just save it. You don't even have to open Eclipse.
Yeah.
It would just pick it up. You had asked earlier about where all those parameters about morning session, afternoon session, evening session, all that. So there's another file called conf-mapd.properties. Now, conf, just beneath the, that's that one, yeah. So this typically refers to what we say global variables that you want the system or your strategies to recognize. So if there's anything that should be global,
right,
this is where we'll keep it. Then the CSV will keep, dynamic variables. Let's put it that way. So right now, we define this, just showing different ways of doing it. If you say market opens at 6, closes at, my end of day is 4:15:30, and we use 4:15:30 most of the time because if you are trading futures, by that time you should be. That's when really you should be out of all your positions unless you want to cover them overnight. And then you have your morning session open, close. So you can define these time frames. Okay, hey system, I don't want you to trade between say 8 and this time. Keep getting the live market data, but don't trade between that. Afternoon session. There's a session that the system can be quiet. It means that you're not going to do anything. Morning session. So we define all these. It's very typical for all our strategies to develop. So I'm just literally reproducing this for you and saying that, okay, if ever you cared about it, it's there, right? You just have to tweak them. And just so you know, what it means is that something like morning session open, right now it's just 1 second difference. Right, you're basically saying that for that 1 second, don't take any trades. That's all. But you can theoretically define it to be say 8 a.m. to say 9:30 a.m. or 9:45 a.m. Okay. I think news comes in around 8:30, and sorry, this is all Eastern time, by the way. So news comes in around 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. Right, and the market opens 9:30. There's a lot of volatility. So you can define that window as a window you don't want to trade or take any signals.
Okay.
Right.
So how do you spend? So these are do not trade hours?
Yeah, so start and end, open, close. So those do not trade hours, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So if and then you could just have, so things like morning session hour, morning session minute, morning session second. there's different ways of doing it. So for example, sometimes you may have a system that says, at 7:50, and this is pretty common, that's why we use it, 7:50 a.m. Eastern, exit or close out any positions I have overnight.
Huh. Okay.
Because I don't want to carry them through the news.
Yeah.
So then we just note this, and then we have Esper, and Esper will read this and just call, once that time is met, it will basically fire off a method to exit all your position.
Wow.
Yeah. The last variable there is, I believe I said it to be number of seconds since last modified. So the whole thing about if you change the file setting, if you save it, I'm basically giving it, I think, 2 seconds. Then if I have 2 seconds, it's saved, it's going to read it. Right?
Okay.
That's basically, make it 1 second, but that's sometimes too fast.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so module Esper. So yeah, so this is, if you open that's module Esper. So this is a very simple thing that tells Esper that at this specific event, call the MACD service to close out all the open positions, right?
Yeah.
It's Esper is very neat. You have some complicated method that you want to invoke at a specific time, and just within 5 lines of code, it will just do it for you. So,
okay.
We use it for a lot of other things, but for now, I'll just leave it there. I think we're actually going to use it more for what most of the stuff you want to do.
Okay.
This is it for now. There are other things, but I don't want to get into them, like the meta inf. Those you don't really want to play with and touch, because if you make a mistake there, it really affects the framework, and we have to kind of not rebuild, but it's just like it's a pain to kind of track what caused it. So try not to make changes there if you can, please.
Okay.
Now, let's see. So the last maybe I could show you is there's a Docker file and there's a pom.xml. So if you scroll down just a bit more.
So where?
Down a bit. There's Docker file. So it's called Docker file. Yeah, double click that.
Okay.
So this one is, the idea is if we finish the code, we would use something called Docker to run it. Actually, don't think you can see it from mine. But the way Docker works, let me share my screen with you real quickly just to highlight what it is. And I want to show it to you because I think it's very important for you because of what you plan to do with this system.
Okay. So maybe I need to stop sharing first. So I'll stop sharing, and then you should be able to share.
Yeah. I need to bring up what I want to share first. Portana, where are you? Yes, there you go. All right. Okay. Share. Share. Main screen. So this is one of. This is actually a. I don't know. Can you see anything?
Yep.
Yeah. So if I go there, when you go to our website here, and you see we have a bunch of sample strategies running. This is how we've architected them behind the scenes. So we have these strategies running.
Right.
Stocks, forex, futures, cryptos. 4 different strategies. What is behind the scenes in terms of operations that we? It's part of the platform, by the way, so it's not a big deal. It's just some training that you have to go through. So, sorry, you saw these strategies, right? They're running, you're doing whatever they're doing, buying, selling different things, stocks, right?
Yep.
Or blah, 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 right? So these are sort of, think of them as 4 unique strategies, or maybe like in your case, intraday, medium, and long term, right? And so we have these containers. So Docker is a way for you to say, I have this component. So one component is actually, if you look at it, is the IB gateway. That's the first one. So instead of you asking the other day, oh, do you actually have to put in the IB username password all the time, right? If you put it in one time, we can create a container for it, and then it would always be up.
Okay.
Okay. So we have IB gateway running,
Right.
and it's actually sort of running on its own separate server. Okay.
Okay.
And then you have the stock strategy, you have the future strategy, the forex, and the crypto strategies, all running separately. So they're running, and they are all talking to the AlgoTrader server, which is also running separately.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the whole distributed approach, right? So it's like, forex can go down, but cryptos and they can all be running.
Yeah.
Then the MySQL again is a component that's going to run independently on its own.
Right.
And Proteina is sort of really what allows us to see this nice GUI where we can basically go in and stop strategies, restart them. So you don't really have to go through the Eclipse thing to go and start and stop strategies. Once we have everything running, we will just use, we'll package all of them, and then this user interface will be set up, and then you can stop and start your strategies.
Right.
All right. That's what I wanted to share. I'm going to stop sharing, and then you can go back to your screen.
All right. What's up, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, to create a Docker image, you need this is sort of the structure we have, right? So AlgoTrader has an image on Docker, and it's pretty straightforward, but it's a very cool technology that they've developed. I don't know if you know of Kubernetes and all those things. Yeah, but it's a very way of containerizing things instead of having them sort of like all these different things all in one.
Right.
So it's very hard to kind of maintain. All right. Then the last one I want to show you is the pom.xml. Now, again, that's also very important. This is actually where the dependencies are. So on a high level, when I look at it this way, it's kind of neat to look at. But for us, let's just go to there are multiple tabs. The first one is overview. Select the last one, pom.xml. All right.
Yeah.
So this is showing you it's sort of a way of packaging, and that your system is using AlgoTrader Core. So that's the AlgoTrader platform. Mm-hmm. It's using TA4J. I have people that will develop their own Java libraries and add as many dependencies as they want. Right. So if for some reason John or anybody has some Java library to do something, some integration work he wants to do, he actually will just have to add those dependencies here, and he can reference them within.
Okay.
So, and so that's pretty much on a high level what. But this actually is a bit low level. I think we went into a lot of details, so I think it's good, right? So you see the sort of what we are trying to put together, right, for you. Okay. Now let's go back to the MACD service itself.
All right.
Service. All right. So we're talking about that. So there's MACD service. There's metrics. There's settings, and there's state.
Yep.
MACD service is a big one.
Okay.
Metrics is also big, but metrics is just a way for us to, if you were trading, I know you'd be trading multiple securities. So what we do is each security you want to trade would have its own entity or its own metric entity to track its state. So you may be short, Zynga, and that's one metric instance, and it knows, okay, Zynga is short, Zynga 10, whatever, all the attributes, right? It tracks it. Another stock, it tracks that. So each instance represents a unique way for the system to know which security that you're dealing with. And at each point in time, it knows for each security what state you are in.
Okay.
Whether you're trailing stop or you're doing whatever, it knows all of that.
Okay.
that architecture is important for I think what you want to do, because the rules are a bit complicated. So we need to set this up in such a way that anytime there has to be a change in the rules, we can narrow it down quickly. We don't have to kind of go over all the code. Settings is straightforward. All the settings we're talking about how to get them. And then the states.java. States, let's look at the states.java. So state.java is typically, for most systems we develop, these are states that you would use. You may actually need more or less, right? So what I've defined is, what we're currently starting with. Mm-hmm. Most systems can either be an idle state, or it's a partial profit state, right? Or they are pending partial profit. This part is very important. Anytime in any trading system where events are coming to you asynchronously, once an event comes, you have to make sure that when you process it, you are in a state where, if it's like ticks, right? If a tick comes to you and if you react to this, okay, because of this tick, I'm going to buy. Then if the next tick comes in, you can't say I want to buy again, right? The first tick that comes to you is, okay, I need to buy. Okay, now I'm going to change my state and then buy. So that when the tick comes to you again, it says, okay, fine, you're already pending buy. I'm not going to change your state, right? And then if you are pending buy, once the buy has been fully executed, then we change your state to you are long. Okay? This state transition is very, very important in asynchronous systems. A lot of algos that go crazy, they have bad state management. It seems simple, but if you don't do it well, it's just because, like you said, bars are coming, ticks are coming, auto status, all this stuff is coming at you. You need to really process them correctly, okay? That's that. And then, so now let's go back to maybe MapD service then. It's time for MapD service is the big one. How do I start this? So we have a settings file, a bunch of variables. So from line 55 to 61 is a bunch of variables. Line 56 is important because we use that every single message that the system sent, we log it. When there's a log manager we use, and it will create a huge log file that anytime any issue comes up, you just go to the log file, you mine it, and you figure out what caused what, right? So any errors, any exceptions. For automated systems, is a must. And the log manager is really log4j.xml. It's also a component we use as part of AlgoTrader. It's so important. It's very good at handling tons of text thrown at it and sequencing them in the order in which it was received. So that's why we use that. And, again, I don't know if you want me to go through this, but line 57 is, we assume you're going to trade multiple securities, so we have to have a map of saying you're trading this security, and this is the metrics object that represents that security. So that as soon as an event comes in, we know which one to map it to. The rest is all just for the system as it's running. We need to make sure that it's behaving fine. And for this particular case, we had to do this whole thing of bar aggregations for you, right? Where these bars are coming in, and now we have to offset them relative to GMT0 based on the duration. So we've created this mapping that for every security that you subscribe to, we need to have a copy that represents its particular bar aggregation that we're working with. It's quite lengthy. We're not fully done, to be honest, but let me just say, if you had to change the duration as we speak now, it's on line 69. It's set to 195 minutes. And so I've made a note that to do should be configurable. You want to put it in the, ideally maybe the CSV file that we're looking at, so that if you pick the security, you can just say, okay, use 195 or use 60 or use 70 or whatever, use there. All right. Pre-feed. I'll skip the initialization. Let's go to pre-feed, line 78. This is perhaps one of the most important things of any algorithm system. So AlgoTrader has life cycles. One of the life cycles, so when it starts, it initializes. Then the next important life cycle is pre-feed, which is before any market data events come in. do some sanity checks. So the system starts and it has to say, wait, do you have any open positions? Do you have any open orders? What do you want to do with all of that, right? So, hold on 1 second for me.
What's that?
I'm just getting a call. Just 1 second. All right. Code, right? Bottom line, all this is doing is when it starts, it goes in and says, let me get all historical data. Because, in theory, if the system shut down midday, or if you just bring it up from the start, it needs to make sure that it gets all historical data that it needs,
right,
to then update all the indicators, right? The EMAs, the GMAs, all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we do. But in this case, because of the aggregations we have to do, we first connect to IB, we download all the historical data, we are using 5-minute bars to generate the 195-minute bars.
Right.
And then, once it's done, we then request for market data for all the securities that are in the settings file that you want to work with.
Yeah.
We check if you have any open positions, and if you have positions, we have to set stop loss and those sort of things like that.
Right.
If you have any open orders, what do we have to do with the open orders? Because the system needs to know that, for example, if it came back if it was down and came back up and you have an open position, it needs to know, are you short or are you long?
Right.
Or are you flat? So if you're long, then it needs to know you're long. Don't take another long position if a signal comes in. That sort of thing, right? So this is all sort of cleanup that we do, or initialization work that is so important so that the system is in the right state.
Right.
Like I said, the way we've done it is that now, as the bars are coming in, 5-minute bar comes in, we just keep storing, and as soon as we hit the offset, say 3 hours, 15 minutes is up, let's aggregate it, boom, and now we have an aggregated bar.
Yeah.
Send it to all the indicators that we have and update all the indicators to say, here's the 195-minute bar to use to update the EMA, GMA, ROC, all the other stuff, okay? Yeah. So basically, as soon as that happens, then we invoke a method to basically process the bar, and the system then will say, okay, the bar has been formed, the MACD has been updated, the ROC has been updated, the EMA has been updated, the GMA has been updated. Do we have any indicator match?
Yeah.
And if there is a match, all right, then we go long or we go short, whatever the criteria is. So I put this one in here. I don't know if you're going to use it, but yeah, it's fine. This part is where if you were to change the CSV file, I want to immediately detect that you've changed it and read the updated values, and then the system will automatically pick it up. On exit, I don't know what we will do for on exit yet for you. I don't know what we're going to do on tick for you, because I don't think you're doing this. Actually, for you, we may do some things on the tick by tick in terms of maybe tracking if we're doing a trailing stop, for example. Things about, are you trading weekends or not, and yeah, you process the tick. So if we are, for you, mostly it will be that if you're in a position and the market was moving up in your favor on a tick by tick level, as soon as it hits your target, then we basically exit.
Right.
Just scroll down, process close, just closing indicators come in, and then we update the indicator matches. If we have to exit positions, these are helper methods to exit positions, exit positions partially. These are exit methods to reverse positions and stuff like that. So I hope you must see a lot of thought and time has gone to put this together. Okay, so right now that's sort of where we are now. Like now, I want to send an order. I can either send a limit order or I can send a market order.
Right.
When an order status message arrives and I get an execution, for example, or I get a cancellation, the system needs to transition its state. This is the whole thing I was telling you about the state management, because these events are coming in. As soon as it comes in, you need to interrogate that and make sure the system is in the right state as the events are coming in. Okay. Yeah, this is all state management. So that's. We will tweak some of them, I can imagine, over time, but I think the key ones that we know are very important, I've already sort of put them here for us to kind of look at.
So one thing I didn't see was where to specify, or where the amount to be traded is getting specified and how it's getting divided up based upon the trading.
Well, to be honest, we that's the project we're working on this week for you, okay. Right? It's now that we have the framework, the question is, okay, now it's just a matter of, I know I laid out to the guys, okay, what you want is we need to specify for each amount, for each security, how much is going to be allocated for these rules that we have. And again, I know it's a proof of concept we're trying to do, but we're trying to think of what is the right way to do it so that it won't be, so hard-coded that as soon as, we enter June and it's like, okay, we have to do everything again because that's what we're working on.
You guys are thinking about it in terms of, you have the limits on margin and then if it's cash. So those would be like the two specifications, right? Cash or margin. And then for right now, it's just equities, not.
To be honest, I've been assuming that you're going to use margin, but if you're not, I'll make that note and just.
Well, so right now I'm not, but with IB I might. So it'd be good to be able to specify one or the other.
Yeah, I think IB defaults to actually just give you margin. As long as you put more than 25K, they're going to give you a margin.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in regards to to avoid the violations. It would be nice to have those in there.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, what you want to do is for some trades, you like to ideally specify how you want to trade, either on cash or margin for each trade, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Because if I'm just telling it like the amount that's getting traded, for that strategy, and then it has however many securities, whether it's one symbol or more, then, and even if it's just one symbol, it should be able to know, well, I can't open another position on this one because that will violate the the free ride restriction, or that will violate whatever.
Yeah, good faith violation and all those things.
Right?
They have good faith violation, free ride restrictions, exactly. Those day trade calls, and well, yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's certainly an important factor. For your intraday, it probably wouldn't matter because intraday you always margin makes sense because you're going to be flat by the end of the day. You don't really care, right? But for the medium to long term, where you're going to carry positions overnight, that's when I think it matters to make sure that you are doing things the right way. I mean, IB offers portfolio margining. So have you tried that at all? Have you used that at all?
No, of course not. So I know what it is, but no, I mean, I haven't used IB for trading. So
no, sorry. I actually meant portfolio margining because for you, as you get bigger, because I used to be at Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and most of our big clients always were portfolio margining. So at the end of the day, the margin requirements were always very little. They had huge positions, but they always had positions across so many accounts that you just aggregate it and you just
Right.
2 o'clock you say, okay, hey, here's your wires at maybe $5,000 and you $5 million.
Right.
But that's that.
Guess just don't worry about it, right? Get a violation and deal with the restriction for whatever 90 days or so.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, for the amounts of money that you'll be dealing with and what your vision is, yes, IB will be a very good partner if you do that.
I'll give them a call and let them know that you guys are working on something, and then see if they have a way to do it on their side.
Well, see, the thing, that's the point I was just saying. For us, it doesn't really matter from a trading perspective, because what happens is if we submit an order and IB rejects it, there's nothing we can do. It just says that you have insufficient margin to take the trade, right? So that you will just submit the order and IB will just pop back a message. Insufficient margin. It's something to think about in terms of how, I guess I can definitely think that from a day trading perspective, margin makes absolute sense because you'll be flat by the end of the day. But for the medium to long term holders, yeah, you want to do cash.
But yeah, I mean, even the intraday, it seems like it would be an issue. So, not if everything's exited, but then needs to settle. So you need to wait 2 days, right, before you can do it again.
No, if you have more than 25K, the key is that you want to make sure your equity doesn't fall below 25K in the intraday account. So
it's 25K, but there's also, that's to receive the market. There's the other issue of the percent of equity that you have.
Yeah.
So regardless of 25K.
Right, that's true. Okay. Well, that's the next thing. I have a 12 o'clock in 3 minutes, but let me see. Like I said, what we are working on this week is the whole account, how to allocate funds for each strategy, and then for each security that's for given strategy. And now I'm going to ask them to include a cash or margin for each trade as well. Probably, so the default should be cash, I guess, right? We should just default to cash.
Default is cash, yes. Default is cash. And so if you are looking at it that way, you got 100,000 and then you need to trade every single day. So you've got 50,000 that can be used on each day. So if it settles, then in 2 days, it'll be settled and you can trade again, right? So in the simplest form, as long as you're not holding anything overnight, that should work. But yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think.
Occam's razor, right?
But you guys know the rules, right? So.
We know most of the rules, and but yeah, like I said, the easiest thing we do is you submit an order, IB just rejects it. It just gives you a message, but order rejected because of this. That's the message it tells you. So the program will pop it up in a log file and say, hey, this order was rejected for this reason.
Okay, we'll just let it go and see how it works out.
I guess I have to get in touch with John, or maybe the next session, you want John to be part of it?
Well, I think he's probably going to touch base with you and figure out when the right time is to talk to you.
Okay, that's fine. That's just I'll take it.
All right.
Okay, this sounds good. I guess tomorrow, same time or earlier?
Sure. Well, let me take a look at my calendar. I actually don't know. I think it's fine.
Yeah. Actually, this time,
8:30
your time?
Yeah, earlier works if you want to do 7 o'clock.
Yes, I think 7 might be better. Hold
Okay.
on. Yes, check.
I'll send something out for
Yeah,
7.
7 is I'll email back if there's an issue. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a good